The rusted key slipped from Jacob's trembling fingers, clattering against the worn porch boards like a gunshot in the still mountain air. As Karen's shrill voice sliced through the dawn fog. "Hand it over, boy, now, or I'll have the sheriff drag your deviant ass out of this godforsaken shack." Benjamin's hand tightened on Jacob's shoulder from behind, his breath hot and ragged against Jacob's neck, whispering, "Don't you dare." Just as the first crimson streak of sunrise bled across the horizon, painting their world in the color of inevitable war. Jacob had always believed that love was like the ancient oaks dotting the Appalachian ridges. Deep-rooted, unyielding, weathered by storms but standing tall against the wind. But that morning, as the fog clung to the hollows like a shroud, he realized how fragile those roots could snap under the weight of small-town bigotry wrapped in a bureaucrat's clipboard. The cabin, his grandfather's legacy passed down through generations of Harlan men, squatted on the edge of Blackwood Hollow, Tennessee, a weathered sentinel of pine logs and sagging eaves that had sheltered moonshiners, coal miners, and now, two men daring to call it home. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as anything gets in a place where folks still whisper about those kinds from the city, slinking in to corrupt the pure mountain air. Jacob Harlan, 28 and built like the ridges themselves, broad-shouldered from years of hauling timber, with calloused hands that spoke of honest labor, had inherited the place 2 summers back. Granddad's will had been blunt. "To my boy Jacob, the cabin and the land. Keep it wild, keep it yours. No fine print about love or loss, just the deed and a tarnished key on a leather thong that Jacob now wore around his neck like a talisman." Benjamin Ellis blew into Blackwood like a nor'easter off the Smokies, renting the cabin for a month to find himself. Or so he told the realtor in Knoxville. At 32, Ben was all sharp edges and city polish. A graphic designer from Atlanta, fleeing a corporate grind that had chewed him up and spat him out after one too many mergers and one too few promotions. His dark hair was cropped close, his jawline etched with the faint scar from a bar fight in his wilder college days, and his hazel eyes held a storm that could shift from playful lightning to thunderous rage in a heartbeat. He arrived in a rented Jeep, top down, blasting Springsteen, and Jacob, chopping wood out front, paused mid-swing to watch him unload, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder, his smile cutting through the dust like sunlight. "Hey there," Ben had called, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cool October bite. "You the welcoming committee? Name's Ben. This the Ellis rental?" Jacob leaned on his axe, heart thudding harder than the blade into stump. "Harlan. Jacob Harlan. And yeah, that's me. Inherited the place last year. You need help with that gear." What followed was a dance as old as the hills. Awkward small talk over lukewarm coffee on the porch, stories swapped about Atlanta's neon chaos versus the Hollow's quiet rhythms. Ben sketched idly on a notepad while Jacob pointed out the best trout spots in the creek below. By week's end, the lines blurred. A shared beer by the fire pit turned into hands brushing, then lingering. A hike to Devil's Backbone became a confession under the canopy, Ben admitting the divorce from his ex-wife that had cracked him open, Jacob murmuring about the family Bible that skipped his name in the lineage because Granddad knew, even if he never said. Their first kiss happened on the cabin's creaky swing, under a harvest moon that turned the world silver. Ben's lips were tentative at first, tasting of whiskey and hesitation, then fierce, pulling Jacob in like gravity. "I've been running from this my whole life," Ben whispered against his skin, fingers tracing the key at Jacob's throat. "But here, with you, feels like stopping." Jacob pulled back just enough to search those hazel eyes, the forest alive around them with cricket symphonies and rustling leaves. "Then stay. Rent's up in 3 weeks, but the Hollows got room for 2. Ben did stay. The Jeep got traded for a truck that could handle the rutted roads. Ben's freelance gigs adapted to spotty Wi-Fi and lantern light. They built a life in stolen moments. Mornings tangled in flannel sheets, the scent of pine sap and fresh coffee mingling. Evenings where Ben read aloud from dog-eared Kerouac while Jacob whittled cedar figures by the hearth. It was romance distilled to its essence. Raw, unpolished, blooming in the cracks of a world that didn't always bend for them. But Blackwood Hollow wasn't Nashville or Chattanooga, where rainbow flags fluttered without a second glance. It was a pocket of the Old South, where Sunday sermons still thundered about Sodom and the church ladies' quilt circles doubled as gossip mills. Jacob had grown up dodging those stares. The whispers when he'd rather fix tractors with Tommy Ray than chase skirts at the county fair. Ben, fresh from Atlanta's scene, joked about it at first. "Let 'em talk, Jake. We're just two guys fixing a roof." But the barbs landed deeper with time. Enter Karen Whitaker, the self-appointed guardian of Blackwood's moral compass and official busybody for the county zoning board. At 54, she was a force of peroxide curls and pearl-clutching judgment. Her Ford Taurus a rolling crusade against eyesores, like unmowed lawns or, God forbid, bachelor pads housing unholy alliances. Karen had lost her husband to a mill accident a decade back and filled the void with forms and fines, her clipboard a scepter in the war on change. It began with petty notes taped to the mailbox. "Please trim those hedges, unsightly." Jacob obliged, Ben chuckling as they pruned under lantern light. Then came the anonymous complaints to the board about disturbances, after their laughter echoed too late into the night. Karen's shadow first crossed their porch on a drizzly November afternoon, her sensible pumps sinking into the mud as she thrust a yellow notice under the door. Preliminary inspection required for structural integrity. Violation of County Code 47B. "Structural my ass," Ben muttered, crumpling the paper. "She's fishing." Jacob sighed, rubbing his temples. "Let it go, Ben. She's harmless. Just sign off and send it back." But Karen wasn't one to be ignored. She escalated, her visits unannounced, peering through binoculars from the ridge opposite like a hawk eyeing prey. Whispers in town turned to outright stares at the general store. "Heard them boys up in Harlan's old place got company." Jacob's sister, Lila, cornered him at Thanksgiving dinner, her eyes soft but probing. "Jake, you happy? Really? 'Cause Mama's asking, and I don't know what to tell her." "Tell her I'm building something real," he'd replied, voice steady despite the ache. "With Ben." Lila hugged him tight, her flour-dusted apron smelling of cornbread. "Then hold on, brother. The hollow breaks what it can't bend." Winter clamped down hard that year, snow blanketing the ridges in silent accusation. Jacob and Ben hunkered in, their world shrinking to the cabin's glow. Ben's sketches of the hollow pinned to walls like love letters. Jacob's guitar strums harmonizing with the wind's howl. They dreamed aloud, expanding the porch for stargazing, maybe turning the loft into a studio for Ben's art. "A life here," Ben said one night, tracing Jacob's knuckles by firelight. "Not running anymore." Jacob kissed his temple, the key warm between them. "Ours." Yet the seeds of betrayal stirred in the thawing mud of March. Tommy Ray, Jacob's boyhood friend and now the Hollow's part-time deputy, pulled him aside at the feed store. "Word's out, Jake. Karen's got petitions circulating. Says the cabin's a nuisance, folks signing, 'cause they're scared of what y'all represent." Jacob's gut twisted. "Tommy, you know me, since we were kids stealing apples from Widow Green's orchard." Tommy's face reddened, boots scuffing gravel. "I do, but my wife's kin to Karen and, hell Jake, it's complicated. Just watch your back." That night, as sleet lashed the windows, Ben paced the kitchen, his freelance deadline forgotten. "We fight this or we fold. Your call, love." Jacob pulled him close, the storm outside mirroring the one brewing within. "We fight. This is home." Little did they know, the real tempest was just cresting the ridge. Spring erupted in Blackwood Hollow like a long-held breath, dogwoods exploding in pink defiance against the lingering chill. But for Jacob and Ben, it brought no relief. Only the creeping dread of Karen's next move. The petitions multiplied, slipped under doors like poison ivy tendrils. "Protect our heritage, sign against the Harlan nuisance." Neighbors Jacob had known since diaper days averted eyes at the post office, their silence louder than any sermon. Ben threw himself into work, his laptop screen a shield, but the designs he created, sleek logos for Nashville breweries, felt hollow, tainted by the isolation closing in. "It's like we're lepers in flannel," he joked one evening, forcing a laugh as they grilled venison on the porch. But his eyes betrayed him, shadowed with the old Atlanta ghosts. the ex-wife's accusations of not being man enough. The bar where fists had flown over a stolen glance. Jacob watched him unravel. The man who'd stormed his life with Springsteen anthems now fraying at the edges. "Hey," he said, setting down the tongs to cup Ben's face, thumbs brushing away the tension. "We're not them. Not the whispers, not the signs. We're us." Ben leaned into the touch, vulnerability cracking his voice. "What if it's not enough, Jake? What if they take this place, the one good thing I've found? Then we build another?" Jacob murmured, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of hickory smoke and promise. "But they won't. Not while I've breath." Their intimacy deepened in those besieged days, not in fevered passion but in quiet anchors. Ben learning to bait hooks for creek fishing, his clumsy casts earning Jacob's patient grins. Jacob joining Ben for midnight sketches, posing shirtless by the window, the fire's flicker etching their forms in gold. It was love as survival, each touch a vow against the encroaching dark. Karen struck on a balmy April Saturday, her Taurus crunching gravel like bones underfoot. Jacob was splitting logs out back, axe gleaming in the sun, when her voice pierced the birdsong. "Mr. Harlan, a word, if you please." He wiped sweat from his brow, setting the axe aside with deliberate calm. Ben emerged from the cabin, wiping paint from his hands. Midway through murals on the interior walls, wildflowers twisting into abstract hearts. Karen's eyes narrowed at the sight, her lips pursing like she'd sucked a lemon. "Mrs. Whitaker," Jacob said evenly, stepping forward. "What brings you up the hill today?" She thrust a manila folder at him, papers rustling like dry leaves. "Official notice. Full structural inspection scheduled for next Friday. Code violations suspected, roof sags, foundation shifts, and other irregularities." Her gaze flicked to Ben, disdain curling her nose. "I'll need the keys to all outbuildings. For thoroughness." Ben stiffened beside Jacob, his laugh bitter. "Irregularities? Like what? Our taste in curtains." Karen ignored him, fixing Jacob with a stare that could curdle milk. "This isn't personal, Mr. Harlan. Just protocol. Though I must say, it's a shame to see family legacy squandered on improprieties." The word hung like smoke, acrid and choking. Jacob's hand instinctively went to the key at his throat, fingers closing around it. "Improprieties? Ma'am, this cabin's stood since the Depression. Survived floods, fires, worse than your clipboard." Her smile was a blade, thin and sharp. "Times change, boy, and so do codes. Keys by noon tomorrow, or the sheriff gets involved." She pivoted on her heel, pumps spearing the earth, leaving them in stunned silence. Ben exploded first, kicking a log that splintered against the shed. "That witch, she's got no right." "Easy," Jacob soothed, though his own blood boiled. "It's bluff. The cabin's solid as these hills." But doubt wormed in. That night, over a dinner of cornbread and beans gone cold, they pored over the notice. Buried in legalese, potential zoning infraction occupancy standards. Ben's face paled. "They can't. Can they?" Jacob's jaw set. "Not without proof. And we're not giving her the keys." The decision ignited a fragile peace, but betrayal's shadow lengthened. Tommy Ray showed up unannounced 2 days later, Stetson in hand, his deputy's badge glinting like a guilty secret. "Jake, off the record, Karen's pushing hard. Says she's got evidence. Photos, even." Jacob's stomach dropped. "Photos? Of what?" Tommy shifted, boots scraping the porch. "Y'all, together, from her ridge perch. Claims it's public endangerment or some bullshit. Look, I ain't signing her petition, but word's spreading. Your mama called me yesterday, worried sick." Ben, eavesdropping from the doorway, went still as stone. Jacob shot him a glance, raw, pleading, before turning back. "Tommy, we've been friends 20 years. You gonna let her tear this down?" Tommy's eyes dropped. "I don't want to, but Karen's got pull church board, women's auxiliary. If I buck her." He trailed off, clapping Jacob's shoulder with false heartiness. "Just give her the damn keys. Avoid the fuss." The door slammed behind him, leaving a chill deeper than April's breath. Ben crossed to Jacob, arms wrapping tight. He knows, and he didn't fight for us. He's scared, Jacob whispered, hating the excuse even as he voiced it. Like we all are, sometimes. But fear festered. Ben withdrew, his sketches turning darker. Thorns overtaking the wildflowers, figures half-shadowed. Jacob found him one dawn on the swing, staring at the valley where mist pooled like unspoken regrets. Talk to me, Jacob urged, sitting close. Ben's voice cracked. What if Tommy's right? What if giving in saves us pain? Jacob's heart fractured. Giving in? That's not us. That's letting her win. I know, Ben sighed, head on Jacob's shoulder. But God, Jake, I love you too much to lose this. The words mended momentarily, but the inspection loomed like a guillotine. Jacob spent days fortifying, patching the roof solo, Ben hauling supplies in the truck, their labor a silent pact. Yet paranoia bloomed. Strange tire tracks in the drive, a flicker of movement on the ridge at dusk. She's watching, Ben hissed one night, curtains drawn tight. Jacob nodded, axe in hand as he boarded up the shed's loose slats. Let her. We've got nothing to hide. Liar, the hollow seemed to whisper. For in the loft, tucked in a cedar chest, lay Ben's divorce papers, stamped with Atlanta's indifferent seal, and a letter from his sister, urging him home. Family's family, Ben. Blood over. Whatever this is. Jacob had found it months back, said nothing, trusting time to heal the wound. But now, with Karen's noose tightening, secrets felt like loaded guns. The betrayal came softly, on the eve of inspection. Lila arrived at twilight, her pickup rattling up the drive with pies in tow. Pecan and chess, peace offerings wrapped in foil. Brought supper, she called, hugging Jacob fierce. Ben hung back, polite but wary. As they ate on the porch, fireflies winking like conspirators. Over coffee, Lila's gaze softened on Ben. You make my brother light up, you know that? Haven't seen him smile like this since we were kids chasing fireflies. Ben flushed, mumbling thanks. But as she helped clear plates, her whisper to Jacob carried. Karen cornered me at the diner. Says if you don't comply, she'll drag the whole family into it. Daddy's old tax liens, Mama's health records. It's ugly, Jake. Jacob's fork stilled. She threatening you? Not in so many words. Lila glanced at Ben, then away. But she asked about Ben. Where he's from, if he's stable. I told her he's good for you. But Jake, she's relentless. Ben excused himself early, claiming a headache, and Jacob found him later in the loft. The letter from his sister open on the bed. You read it? Ben asked, voice hollow. Jacob knelt, taking his hand. Months ago. Didn't matter then. Doesn't now. Ben's eyes glistened. It matters to her. To them. What if? No what ifs. Jacob cut in fierce. You're my stability. My everything. They made love then. Slow and anchoring. Bodies moving like the creek's gentle current. Reaffirming what words couldn't. But dawn brought Karen's ultimatum. Scrawled on official letterhead slipped through the mail slot. Keys or eviction proceedings. Jacob stared at the paper, the key burning against his chest. Enough. He dialed the zoning office, voice steady as granite. This is Jacob Harlan. Regarding the Whitaker inspection. Tell her to come get him herself. The line went dead, but the war had just begun. The morning of the inspection dawned brittle and bright, sunlight fracturing through the pines like shattered glass, mocking the tension coiling in Jacob's gut. Ben brewed coffee strong as tar, his hands steady despite the tremor in his voice. What if she finds something? The murals, us. Jacob cupped his mug, steam curling like ghosts. She won't. We're locked down tight. But locks were illusions in Blackwood, where kin and keys turned on you swift as a copperhead strike. By 9, Karen's Taurus purred up the drive, flanked by a county van and Jacob's blood iced. Tommy Ray in his cruiser, lights off but presence screaming complicity. She stepped out in starched khakis and a blouse buttoned to her throat, clipboard in one hand, measuring tape in the other, her smile triumphant as a revival tent hallelujah. "Mr. Harlan," she trilled, eyes sliding past him to Ben on the porch. Prompt as promised. "Shall we?" Jacob blocked the door, arms crossed like oak branches. "Keys first, Mrs. Whitaker. You demanded em." Her laugh tinkled false. "Oh, that's just procedure. For the sheds, the attic. Wouldn't want any surprises." "Surprises like what?" Ben interjected, descending the steps, his Atlanta edge sharpening his tone. "Our collection of taxidermy squirrels?" Tommy cleared his throat, shifting weight. "Jake, let's keep it civil. Just routine." Routine. The word soured Jacob's mouth. This was a raid, plain as the badge on Tommy's chest. He fished the outbuilding keys from his pocket. Spares, not the sacred one at his throat, and dangled them. "Sheds are yours. Cabin stays off limits." Karen's eyes narrowed to slits. "The notice covers all structures, Mr. Harlan, including the primary residence. Hand over the full set, or Deputy Ellis here enforces." Ben snorted. "Ellis? That's your leverage? Family ties." Tommy flushed crimson, but held firm. "County order, Ben. Don't make this harder." Jacob's world tilted. Ben's last name, Ellis, shared with Tommy? The pieces slammed together. Boyhood friends, Atlanta roots, the scar on Ben's jaw from that college brawl. Tommy was Ben's cousin, the kin he'd mentioned, the bridge Jacob had trusted blindly. "You," Jacob breathed, turning to Tommy. "All this time. Jake, it's not." Tommy started, but Karen cut in, triumphant. "Keys now, or we impound." The air thickened, charged as a summer squall. Ben's face drained of color, realization dawning. "Tommy? You're... Shit. Why didn't you say?" Tommy's gaze dropped, boots grinding dirt. "Tried to warn you, but Karen, she don't quit." Jacob's hand closed around the throat key, metal biting palm. Betrayal burned hotter than any forge. Tommy, blood to Ben, friend to him, playing both sides like a fiddle in a hoedown. "Get off my land," he growled, voice low thunder. "All of you." Karen smirked, nodding to Tommy. "Deputy." But Ben stepped forward, hazel eyes blazing. "Wait, cousin or not, you let this witch hunt us. For what her glory?" Tommy's shoulders slumped, the fight leaching out. "I thought, compliance. Keep it quiet." "Quiet," Jacob echoed, laugh bitter. "You've been screaming our sins from the rooftops." The standoff fractured then, Karen snatching the shed keys and marching off with her entourage, tape measures snapping like accusations. Jacob and Ben watched from the porch, the cabin a fortress under siege, as they poked and prodded the outbuildings. Empty save for tools and Ben's half-finished easel in the barn. Hours dragged, the sun climbing merciless, until Karen re-emerged, face thunderous. "No major violations," she spat, thrusting papers at Jacob. "But the residence requires a warrant," Jacob finished, unmoved. "Which you don't have." She huffed, retreating to her car, but not before hissing to Tommy. "This isn't over, Ellis. Your family's shame." Tommy lingered, hat in hands. "Jake, Ben, I'm sorry. Blood's thick, but y'all, you're thicker. I should have spoken up." Ben's jaw worked, forgiveness a distant shore. "Next time, cousin, start with truth." Tommy nodded, defeated, and drove off, leaving dust devils in his wake. The hollow sighed, birds resuming their chorus, but the damage festered. Inside, Ben collapsed onto the sofa, head in hands. "My own blood, selling us out." Jacob knelt, pulling him close, the key pressing between them like a heartbeat. "Not selling. Weak. There's a difference." Ben's laugh was watery. "Is there?" "Feels the same." That afternoon blurred into repair, literal and otherwise. Jacob hammered loose shingles while Ben sanded floorboards, their silence companionable at first, then cracking under questions. "How long you known he was kin?" Jacob asked, nails biting wood. Ben paused, sander whirring down. "Guessed after the first warning." Atlanta's not that big. But telling you? Felt like jinxing us. Jacob set the hammer aside, crossing to him. No secrets, Ben. Not anymore. We're in this Keys kin, all of it. Ben's eyes searched his vulnerability raw. Promise. Swear on the hollow. Jacob kissed him then, fierce and forgiving, the taste of sawdust and salt mingling. They worked till dusk, bodies aching but souls mending, the cabin humming with their rhythm. Yet peace was fleeting. Dusk brought Lila, breathless in the drive, a manila envelope clutched like contraband. From the zoning office, she panted. Karen expedited full eviction hearing in 2 weeks. She's claiming moral turpitude violation, citing those photos. Jacob snatched the envelope, paper spilling. Grainy shots from the ridge, him and Ben on the swing, hands entwined. Another of them hauling wood, shirt sleeves rolled, laughter frozen mid-frame. Evidence twisted into indictment. Ben snatched one, crumpling it. That bitch. Spying like we're criminals. Lila's face crumpled. Jake, fight it. But Mama's asking you home. Says the hollow's cursed now. The words landed like punches. Jacob's mother, frail in her widow's rocker, clinging to Bible verses against the tide. Tell her I'm fighting for what's right, he said, voice steady. For love. Lila hugged them both, fierce. Then win, brother. For all of us. Night fell heavy, stars pricking the velvet sky like accusations. By the fire, Ben sketched furiously. The photos transformed into caricatures. Karen as a harpy with clipboard wings, Tommy a bumbling fool. Jacob watched, pride swelling amid the ache. You're turning poison to art, he murmured. Ben glanced up, smile crooked. Only 'cause I got you to ground me. They talked deep into hours, plans forming like battle lines. Consult the Knoxville lawyer who'd handled Granddad's will, rally allies in town. The feed store owner who'd winked at their groceries. The widow down the road with her own unconventional past. But doubt lingered, a third shadow in their bed. Midnight brought the storm, literal, rain lashing like judgment, thunder rumbling the ridges. Lightning cracked, illuminating Ben's face, etched with fear. What if we lose? He whispered, body curled against Jacob's. Then we rebuild, Jacob replied, arm tightening. Elsewhere. Together. Ben nodded, but sleep evaded them. The key at Jacob's throat a talisman against the fraying night. The hearing dawned 2 weeks later. The county courthouse in Jasper, a squat brick relic of Confederate ghosts. Its halls echoing with boot heels and hushed scandals. Jacob and Ben arrived in the truck, dressed sharp. Ben in a button-down that hugged his frame. Jacob in his best denim. The key hidden under collar. Lila flanked them, arm linked with Jacob's, a silent phalanx. Karen waited inside, perched like a vulture. Her witnesses a parade of church ladies and sour-faced farmers. Tommy slouched in the back, avoiding eyes. The judge, old Harlan Whitaker, no relation, thank God, banged gavel, proceedings grinding like millstones. Ms. Whitaker, he drawled, spectacles perched low. Your claims. She rose, voice quivering with righteous fire. Your Honor, the Harlan property harbors code violations and moral decay. Photos evidence unnatural cohabitation, endangering community standards. Murmurs rippled. Ben's hand found Jacob's under the bench, squeeze bruising. Jacob's lawyer, a wiry woman named Reese from Knoxville, stood. Objection, Your Honor. Moral decay ain't code. And those photos? Taken without consent. Privacy violation. Karen blustered, but Reese pressed, unveiling counter-evidence. Engineers report on the cabin's soundness. Affidavits from neighbors praising the Harlan stewardship. Then the gut punch, Reese called Tommy. Deputy Ellis, she began. You accompanied the inspection. Findings. Tommy swallowed, sweat beading. No structural issues, ma'am. All clear. And the moral claims? Reese prodded. He hesitated, glancing at Ben, cousin, kin, then straight. Baseless. Jacob and Ben. They're good folks. Decent. Gasps echoed. Karen's face purpled. You traitor. Family. Enough. the judge snapped. Ms. Whitaker, your petition's denied. Costs to you. Gavel fell just as swift as mountain justice. Outside, rain-scented air washed clean, Lila whooping as they piled into the truck. Ben laughed, real and free, pulling Jacob into a porch post kiss once home. Defiant, joyous. But victory soured at supper. A knock, Tommy, rain-soaked, hat dripping. Can I explain? Ben waved him in, magnanimous in triumph. Sit. Talk. Tommy did, words tumbling. Pressure from Karen, fear for his badge, shame for silence. I betrayed you both. For what? Her crusade. Jacob poured bourbon, 3 glasses. You testified true. That start. Ben nodded, slow. Blood's forgiving, Tommy. But trust? Earn it. Tommy left lighter, the hollow exhaling. Yet as stars wheeled, Ben turned pensive by the fire. We won the battle, Jake. War's the hollow itself. Jacob drew him close. Then we claim it. All of it. Love, in that moment, felt invincible, roots delving deeper, branches reaching for light. Summer scorched Blackwood Hollow that year, heat waves shimmering off the asphalt like fever dreams, turning the ridges into furnaces that tested resolve as much as resolve. The eviction hearing's echo faded, but scars lingered, whispers in aisles, sidelong glances at the diner. Jacob and Ben wore them like badges. Their bond forged tighter in the crucible, but the cost tallied in small erosions. Ben's freelance drying up under client unease, Jacob's back orders thinning as neighbors hedged bets. Karen, humiliated, vanished from the ridge, her Taurus sightings rare as honest politicians. Rumor had it she'd taken a leave from the board, nursing grudges in her clapboard bungalow. Tommy, seeking amends, showed up weekends, hauling gravel for the drive, sharing cold beers on the porch, stories of Atlanta bridging the chasm. Cousin's not so bad, Ben admitted one night, head on Jacob's lap as cicadas droned. Just human. Jacob stroked his hair, fingers lingering. Like us, flawed, but fighting. Their romance bloomed anew in summer's languor. Lazy floats down the creek on inner tubes, water cool against sun-baked skin. Picnics at Devil's Backbone. Ben's sandwiches devoured amid wild blackberry stains and stolen kisses. Jacob taught Ben the hollow's secrets. Hidden caves echoing with bat wings, elderberry thickets ripe for jelly. While Ben coaxed Jacob into vulnerability, reading poetry by lantern. Whitman's Leaves of Grass whispering of bodies electric, souls entwined. Yet beneath the idol, conflict simmered. Ben's sister called from Atlanta, voice syrup-sweet concern. Come visit, Benny. City's missing you. And that cabin fling? Fun, but real life's here. Ben hung up mid-sentence, face stormy, hurling his phone into the cushions. Fling, Jacob echoed, hurt Lansing. After all this? Ben deflated, pacing. Not you. Her blindness sees us as phase, not forever. Jacob crossed to him, hands on shoulders. Then show her. Bring me. We face it. Ben searched his eyes, fear yielding to fire. Yeah, we do. The trip south crystallized their depth. Atlanta sprawled chaotic, skyscrapers clawing sky versus the hollow's humble sprawl. But Ben's childhood home, a tidy bungalow in Decatur, welcomed warily. His sister, Mara, hugged tight but eyed Jacob appraising. The mountain man. Ben says you're something. Jacob grinned, disarming. Just a Harlan, ma'am. Keepin' your brother honest. Over barbecue ribs and pecan pie, truth surfaced. Mara's divorce tales mirroring Ben's, Jacob sharing Granddad's unspoken acceptance. A wink at his prom night with no date. A cabin key pressed into palm years early. Family ain't blood alone, Jacob said, clinking glasses. It's choice. Mara softened, tears glinting. Then choose us back, Benny. Both of you. Driving north, windows down, Springsteen blasting. Ben hooped into wind. She saw us, Jake. Really saw. Jacob's hand found his thigh, squeeze affirming. Worlds catching up. Slow, but sure. Back in the hollow, autumn crept golden. leaves carpeting paths like confetti for their quiet triumphs. Ben's art flourished, commissions from progressive Knoxville galleries, murals expanding to town hall consent. Jacob's carpentry steadied, tables crafted with Ben's inlays fetching premiums. They hosted Lila for harvest suppers, Tommy tagging along sheepish, the table groaning under potluck bounty, laughter drowning old ghosts. But betrayal's echo resounded in November's chill. A letter arrived, postmarked Jasper. Anonymous, typed sterile. Inside, a single photo, not from Karen's spyglass, but intimate. Them in the loft, bodies silhouetted by firelight. The cedar chest open, Ben's divorce papers askew. Scrawled note, sinners repent or burn. Tell the town. Jacob's hands shook, passing it to Ben. Who? Tommy? Ben paled but shook head. No, he'd confess. This, colder. The hollow turned predator, every shadow suspect. They burned the photo in the fire pit, flames devouring evidence, but paranoia rooted. Ben withdrew, sketches jagged. Jacob patrolled nights, rifle over shoulder, not for threat, but reassurance. Crisis peaked at the county fair, Blackwood's annual ritual of fried dough and fiddle contests. They went armored, hands linked defiant, smiles pasted. But midway through the pie judging, Karen materialized, gaunt and wild-eyed, her leave clearly unpaid. Harlan, she spat, clutching a styrofoam plate like a shield. Enjoying the fruits of sin? Ben tensed, but Jacob stepped forward. Mrs. Whitaker, fine night for it. Her laugh cracked. Fine? While you parade abomination. Eyes darted to the crowd, then back, voice dropping venom. I know your secrets, the papers, the lies. Jacob's blood chilled. You, she preened, broken. Someone had to, for the Lord's work. Betrayal unveiled, not Tommy's weakness, but her vendetta, twisted deeper post-hearing. Ben lunged, fury unchecked. You spied? In our home. Jacob hauled him back as murmurs swelled. Tommy materialized, hand on holster. Karen, stand down. She whirled, hysterical. You, traitor kin, enabling filth. Chaos erupted, sheriff called, fairgoers gawking. Karen thrashed as cuffs clicked, her screams biblical curses. Jacob and Ben retreated to the truck, hearts pounding, the hollow's lights twinkling distant. Home by hearth, Ben shattered. She was in here, touching our things. Jacob held him through sobs, own tears silent. It's over. She's done. But the wound gaped, trust's fabric frayed. Days blurred in recovery. Therapy sessions via Knoxville Zoom for Ben, Jacob journaling by Creek, pages filled with doubts. Am I enough? Can love weather this? Healing came gradual, in gestures. Ben painting over the loft shadows with dawn light, Jacob carving a joint key fob. Two halves, interlocking. For us, he said, pressing Ben's into palm. Unbreakable. Ben's smile returned, tentative. Yeah, us. Winter whispered forgiveness, snow muffling scars. Christmas brought Mara north. Gifts piled under a pine they fell together. Ornaments of whittled stars, Ben's sketches framed. Lila hosted, table bridging families. Mara's city quips clashing with hollow hymns, laughter the glue. Yet climax brewed in January's thaw. A call from the zoning chair, Karen's formal complaint, alleging break-in evidence to frame them. She's unhinged, the chair said. But procedure depose you both. The hearing loomed, smaller than eviction but sharper, personal. Jacob and Ben prepared. Reese coaching. Truth disarms. Own your love. Courtroom stale with radiator hum. Karen shackled but unbowed. Her lawyer a weasel from Chattanooga. Testimonies dragged. Her discovery of papers during authorized access. Lie, exposed by timestamps. Tommy testified again. Voice iron. No warrant. Illegal entry. Ben took the stand, steady. Those papers? My past. Jacob? My future. You don't get to touch that. Jacob followed, key visible now, talisman bared. This cabin's legacy of love. Granddad's quiet nod to mine. Karen's hate? Not welcome. Judge same Harlan side. Dismissed. And Ms. Whitaker, resigned from board or charges. She crumbled, led away weeping. Not curses but pleas. I lost everything. Had to make right. Outside, snow flurried soft. Ben turned to Jacob, eyes clear. We survived her. Jacob kissed his forehead. Survived us. But the true peak crested that night. Fire roaring, bourbon warming veins. Ben pulled an envelope, his sister's, postmarked Atlanta. Read it. Jacob did. Ben, Jacob, come spring, visit again. Bring the hollow's heart. Love, Mara. Ben grinned. Family expands. Jacob laughed, pulling him close. Like roots. Deeper, wider. Love, in winter's embrace, felt eternal, human, flawed, profoundly whole. Spring 2026 unfurled tentative in Blackwood Hollow. Forsythia flames licking hillsides. But for Jacob and Ben, renewal carried the weight of hard-won ground. Karen's resignation splashed local papers. Zoning zealot ousted in scandal. Her bungalow dark, sold quick to city folk seeking escape. Whispers shifted from condemnation to curiosity. Them Harlan boys held firm. Good on him. Tommy, redemptive arc arcing, proposed alliance. Let me help fortify. Cameras, locks, pro bono. Ben eyed him wary but nodded. Jacob clapped his back. Welcome home, cousin. Their days wove domestic poetry. Ben's gallery show in Knoxville. Jacob's tables displayed beside canvases, hollow hearts. The exhibit titled, Drawings of Intertwined Roots Against Stormy Skies. Critics raved. Raw Americana, queer and unapologetic. Sales funded porch expansion, swing reinforced for two. Romance simmered sensual, not carnal. Dawn runs through mist, hands brushing dew-kissed ferns. Evenings were Ben's head in Jacob's lap, guitar strums lulling to tales of Granddad's youth, moonshine runs and forbidden fiddles. He'd like you, Jacob murmured once, fingers carding hair. Quiet strength. Ben smiled up. Like you. But conflict's embers glowed. Ben's Atlanta pull tugged. A major design firm offer, 6 figures, skyline views. Think on it, his agent urged over speaker. Ben hung up, face storm-clouded. Go, Jacob prompted, neutral as he could muster, heart clenching. Ben paced kitchen, boots echoing. It's security, stability, but leaving you? The hollow? Jacob crossed arms, leaning counter. Don't stay for me, stay for us. The words hung precipice. Ben stopped, eyes locking. Us means here, with you, the offer's paper, your bone and breath. Jacob exhaled, relief crashing. Then tell him no. Ben did, voice firm over phone. Grateful, but rooted elsewhere. Click. He turned, grinning. Done. Jacob swept him up, spin laughing till dizzy. My city boy gone country. Ben's kiss grounded. You're everything. Yet betrayal's specter stalked anew, insidious. May brought Lila's wedding to a sweet nurse from Chattanooga, ceremony in the Hollow's old chapel. Jacob best man, Ben groomsman, suits starched rare. Vows exchanged under stained glass, rainbows literal in prism light. Reception at the cabin. Strung lights, fiddles wailing, potluck bounty. Joy flowed till Mara's arrival, arms laden with cake, her husband trailing. A burly accountant with a bear hug for Jacob. Heard you two are legends now. But midway, a guest cornered Ben. Old Atlanta acquaintance, slurring bourbon truths. Heard about the spy pics. Karen, right? But word is Tommy leaked the first ones. Family duty or something. Ben froze, drink midway. Jacob, overhearing, paled. What? The man shrugged, oblivious. Just scuttlebutt. Ignore. But doubt poisoned the punch. Later, under stars, Ben confronted Tommy by fire pit. That true? The initial photos you? Tommy's face fell, embers reflecting guilt. Ben. Yeah. Early on. Karen pressed. Said it'd encourage compliance. Thought it'd end quick. No harm. No harm. Ben's voice rose, fists balled. You fed the beast. Jacob intervened, hand on Ben's arm. Tommy, why? Tommy's eyes welled. Stupid. Scared of her pull on my job, my marriage. But after the hearing, I stopped. Testified true. Ben whirled away, storming into night. Jacob followed, finding him by creek, stones skipping furious. He's family, Jacob said soft. Flawed as us. Ben hurled another. Family doesn't sabotage. Doesn't hand you to wolves. Jacob pulled him around. Faces close. He owned it. That's more than Karen ever did. Ben deflated, leaning in. Hate feeling played. Again. Jacob's embrace enveloped. Then we rewrite the rules. No more blind trust. Forgiveness fermented slow. Days of terse silences at shared labors. Fence mending, where Tommy's jokes fell flat. Lila mediated. Wedding glow fading to sisterly steel. He's trying, Ben, like y'all tried with the hollow. Ben softened at edges, a nod over coffee. One more chance, but slip and he's out. Tommy grasped it, gratitude manifest in deeds. Installing trail cams, sharing deputy scuttlebutt on lingering bigots. Bonds mended, tensile but true. Climax crested midsummer, heat wave breaking in thunderstorm fury. Jacob and Ben, caught on a ridge hike, sought shelter in a cave. Granddad's old moonshine hide, walls etched with initials. Rain lashed, lightning fracturing dark, their bodies close for warmth. Talk turned deep, thunder underscoring. What if we'd lost? Ben murmured, head on Jacob's chest. Jacob traced cave etchings. We'd have found another hollow, another us. Ben lifted, eyes fierce. No other. This you is it. Kiss ignited, urgent against storm's roar. Not lust, but affirmation. Souls sinking like thunderclap. They emerged soaked, rainbow arcing promise. But human frailty struck post-storm. Ben's collapse at dinner, fork dropping, face ashen. Heart, he gasped, clutching chest. Panic seized Jacob, dialing 911. Truck keys fumbling as sirens wailed distant. Hospital in Jasper. Stress-induced arrhythmia, docs said, exacerbated by months' toll. Rest, they ordered. And love. It's the best medicine. Vigil by bed. Jacob held Ben's hand, key pressed to knuckles. Don't you dare leave me, he whispered, tears hot. Ben squeezed weak but sure. Not without you. Recovery stretched weeks. Ben bunked in town with Mara visiting, Jacob commuting carpentry gigs. Their separation ached like withdrawal. Letters bridged. Ben's sketches of hospital jello horrors. Jacob's whittled worry stones shipped daily. Reunion at cabin. Ben frail but fiery. Jacob's arms home. Missed this? Ben breathed, porch swing creaking welcome. Jacob's voice rough. Missed you breathing easy. They rebuilt deliberate. Morning walks slow-paced. Ben's palette reclaiming color. Portraits of Jacob napping, lines tender. Community rallied subtle. Meals from Lila. Tommy's patrol drives by. Even Widow Green's apple pie with note. Strength to the strong. Love deepened philosophical. Conversations by fire probing. What's human? Ben mused one night. Flaws? Or the mending? Jacob pondered, embers glowing. Both, like the hollow, storms carve, but roots hold. Ben nodded, head pillowed. Our roots. Autumn gilded edges, fair returning triumphant. No Karen shadow, booths bustling welcome. They manned a stall. Ben's prints, Jacob's carvings. Folks buying not pity, but genuine, beautiful work, boys. Tommy toasted them at closing, beer raised. To kin, blood, and chosen. Ben clinked, grin genuine. To second chances. Winter loomed gentle, first snow dusting like benediction. Mara stayed through holidays, her husband chopping wood novice style, laughter echoing. Lila announced pregnancy, hollow expanding literal. Yet peak emotion crested New Year's Eve. Bonfire on ridge, hollow sprawling below star-strewn. Ben pulled a box, small velvet. Inside, Twin rings. Silver bands etched with interlocking roots. The keys motif. Marry me? Ben asked, voice steady, eyes storm-clear. Not legal yet everywhere, but ours. Forever. Jacob's breath caught, tears blurring. Yes, God, yes. They slipped rings on, firelight dancing, hollow witnessing. Kiss sealed, world narrowing to two hearts, beating sync. Love, in that blaze, transcended human, resilient, profoundly American. Flawed dreamers claiming their patch of earth. The year turned on its hinge, 2027 dawning crisp and unyielding in Blackwood Hollow. The ridges etched with frost like veins of resolve. Jacob and Ben's engagement rippled outward, not a scandal but celebration. Lila's quilt circle stitching, hollow vows banner. Tommy engraving invitations on his off hours. No grand city affair. They chose the cabin, spring equinox, dogwoods witnesses to their private rite. Preparations wove joy with gravity. Ben designing invites, roots entwining script, Jacob refurbing the loft into sanctuary, beams sanded smooth, windows framing eternal views. Mara flew in early, bossing floral arrangements with city flair, rustic chic, boys, no hay bales. Doubts nipped heels, inevitable. Ben, pacing pre-dawn one March morning, voiced the specter. What if it's too soon? After Karen, the heart scare. Are we rushing roots? Jacob, coffee steaming, drew him to window, hollow stirring awake. Roots don't rush. They delve 'cause they must. Like us. Ben leaned in, tension easing. Yeah, must. Ceremony day broke golden. Sun gilding pines, creek murmuring approval. Guests sparse but heartfelt. Lila swollen with child, Tommy scrubbed solemn, widow green with her unconventional partner. A quiet librarian from Bristol, Mara and husband toasting champagne. No preacher. Reese the lawyer officiated, her wiry frame clad in lavender, words secular sacrament. In this place of legacy and love, do you vow? Jacob first. Ring glinting. I vow, Ben Ellis, to stand with you. Storms, secrets all. You're hollow, my heart. Ben's turn, voice thick. Jacob Harlan. I vow to choose you daily. Flaws, fights, forever. My anchor, my art. Rings exchanged. Kiss sealed under arch of wildflowers. Cheers erupting soft. Feast followed. Lila's cornbread. Mara's cake. Fiddles from town square. Dusk fell intimate, guests departing to stars, leaving them swing-bound, tangled limbs, key and rings warm talismans. Honeymoon stayed local, cabin fortified, world shut out. Days blurred idle. Hikes reclaiming ridges. Nights where whispers mapped futures. Adopting someday, perhaps, or Ben's gallery in Knoxville expanding. A life, Ben sighed one eve, head on Jacob's chest. Ours, unapologetic. Jacob traced ring. Earned. But humanity's tide ebbs. Conflicts cresting subtle. Summer brought Ben's diagnosis, not dire, but chronic. Arrhythmia managed with meds, lifestyle tweaks. No more all-nighters, Doc warned. Ben chafed, sketches piling undone. Frustration flaring. Trapped again. Like Atlanta. Jacob mediated calm. Runs adjusted to walks, art sessions paced. Not trapped. Freed to breathe. Ben relented. Gratitude manifest in a series. Vital signs. Portraits of lovers midlaugh. Pulses visualized in color bursts. Show sold out. Critics hailing. Pulse of queer Appalachia. Alive. Beating. Tommy's arc peaked redemptive. Proposing partnership. Deputy patrols for Safe Hollow Initiative. Targeting not queers but real threats. Meth labs encroaching ridges. Ben joined planning, voice steady. Build bridges, not walls. Jacob watched, pride swelling. You're the change now. Autumn harvested bounty. Lila's baby girl, named Harlan Ellis Ray. A bridge of names. Christening at chapel. Rainbows and glass again. Jacob holding Ben's hand through tears. Our niece, Ben whispered. Family fractal. Winter whispered closure. News hit. Karen Whitaker. Relocated to Florida nursing home. Penitent letter forwarded via Tommy. I was lost in loss, she scrawled, script shaky. Husband gone. Faith twisted. Forgive? Pray I do. Ben read aloud by fire, voice neutral. Jacob pondered. Human. Broken. Mending. Reply? Ben asked. Jacob nodded. Compassion. That's our code. Joint letter sent. No absolution forced, but understanding offered. May your hollow heal as ours has. Response came months later. Thanks, a pressed wildflower from her youth. Climax of their tale unfolded not in fury, but quiet profundity. Anniversary Eve. 1 year wed. Bonfire on Ridge Redux. Hollow below twinkled. Life's mosaic. Lila's lights. Tommy's cruiser prowling benevolent. Ben pulled an envelope. Aged. Granddad's will addendum. Found in chest. For you, post-marriage. Jacob opened, breath catching. To Jacob and his chosen. Cabin forever. Love wild. Love true. Granddad's scrawl. Dated pre-death. Unspoken ally revealed. Tears fell free. He knew. Ben embraced. Saw. They burned the paper in flames. Ashes to wind, release, not loss. Vows renewed impromptu. Through betrayals, beats, all us. Dawn broke, them entwined on blankets. World vast but intimate. Love, in maturity, revealed human core. Not perfection, but persistence. Not triumph alone, but tenderness amid trials. Years wove forward, hollow, enduring. They mentored young queers fleeing cities, Cabin Haven. Ben's books published, Jacob's craft shop thriving. Lila's girl toddled porches, Tommy's kids fished creeks. Legacy living. In twilight years, gray threading hair, rings worn smooth, they'd swing still, key passed to niece, keep it wild. Jacob's last words, firelit, best roots I grew. Ben's reply, eternal, best harvest. And Blackwood whispered amen, a human hymn to love's unyielding claim.